I thought it'd be really interesting to kind of, first of all, as we kind of have the Tour de France in the backdrop of, as we're both new to racing, really talk about one of the key parts of racing it's a really crucial tactic that obviously plays out on the world stage of Tour de France, but also really plays out in our local races, things that we find ourselves, having to react to, having to respond to, having to think about, and tactically, take advantage of, is the idea of breakaways. Cool.
All right, welcome back to Bespoke Endurance. Today is episode 19 of Recreational Rider to Racer podcast series, where Josh and I are transforming into racers, leveling up on the bike and in life in the midst of busy lives, work, and young families. We have been on this journey since January of going from basically your weekend warrior to trying to cat up as high as we can, as quick as we can in racing. On this channel, we talk all things racing, different types of racing from the amateur level to the professional level, nutrition, training hacks that we've been kind of figuring out, and how to fit all that in with busy lives and young kids. If that interests you, we ask that you want to follow us along on our journey, hit that subscribe button, and follow our channel as we kind of transform ourselves from rec riders to racers.
Okay, so Tour de France, Greg, is this the best time of the year, or is Christmas the best time of the year for you?
I don't know.
Does this supersede Christmas for you?
I said it last week. Like, July is the Super Bowl for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have this past week I have hit my rhythm. I get up and I ride. I come back and I chill for a little bit, and then right around 9 o'clock the tour goes on.
Yep.
And it's just been
It's a beautiful thing.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like I'm loving that. I'm not even watching. I haven't watched a single highlight. Like, I'm just watching the stages. It's been amazing.
That's so good. Yeah, it is the best time of year, and it's so exciting. We're now stage 5. As this is we're recording. We've already seen the first 5 stages, and honestly, been very exciting first 5 stages, more so than I think most people even anticipated, given the stage profiles of some of these things. On paper, some of these shouldn't be as interesting as they have been, but I thought it'd be really interesting to kind of, first of all, as we kind of have the Tour de France in the backdrop of, as we're both new to racing, really talk about one of the key parts of racing it's a really crucial tactic that obviously plays out on the world stage of Tour de France, but also really plays out in our local races, things that we find ourselves, having to react to, having to respond to, having to think about, and tactically, take advantage of, is the idea of breakaways. And so one of the things that I thought would be really cool as newer racers, maybe there's people like us, really talk about 2 things. One is what we've learned so far about breakaways. And then 2, maybe give a little bit of some of the things that we're learning in terms of what maybe other local racers can take away from it in terms of breakaways, especially watching the best in the world do it in the Tour de France stage, because you see it all the time. And it's one thing that as you get into racing, you have to think about. And so prior to racing, it was always really fun to watch. But now that we're racing, starting to really think about, like, oh man, this is actually like really interesting, to think about from a stage by stage dynamic. But yeah, out of the gate, breakaways are incredibly hard, right? Yeah, they're just brutal. Like, I mean, I don't know. You're burning matches well above your threshold. You're exposing yourself to, the chance to get out of someone else's draft, and they're gaining the benefit of that additional, maybe 20 to 30% aerodynamic benefit from it. But yeah, I don't know about you. Like, do you have, now that we've been racing, do you have a newfound level of respect for guys that can do breakaways and gals that can pull off breakaways?
Yeah, for me this year, with doing a few races now, I've really appreciated at the professional level watching, and then especially in this tour, is watching the breakaways kind of happen. I used to really just kind of watch the last little bit of each stage, but now I try to get, I mean, with the tour stuff because you're waking up at so early.
Yeah.
But I try to at least catch how the break formed, because I think a lot of people turn on the TV and just watch the last little bit. And to get to that point, when you're like, oh, 5 guys are up the road, it's like, yeah, but it probably started at like 15 and they dropped off one by one. And I think what I appreciate that I've been learning this year from racing is how hard it is to get in a break.
Yes.
Because as soon as one guy tries to attack, somebody latches onto him, and then they just pull everybody. And then it's just constant counterattacking. And so I think that when you turn on the TV and you see, oh, a 4-man breakaways 2 minutes up the road, you think, oh, they probably just let them ride away. And it's like, no, they were killing each other for 45 minutes just to kind of break that elastic. And then, even this season, you and I have had different, like I was thinking about this and like watching breakaways and like thinking about how we race. Yeah. We've had different experiences with like breakaways, like some successful ones, some unsuccessful ones.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because our first true race, it was when we did Georgia earlier this year, where it was, even just in that circuit race itself, right, was just that idea when both you and I, where we felt really good. It was a pretty chill circuit race, slower than we probably anticipated. But then it was just that idea of like trying to figure out, like, can we, and especially for you, it was more of the idea, like our coach, I remember telling us, like, you have to be the most efficient riders out there. And yet you had moments where you felt really good and you wanted to just keep pop off type of thing. And I remember thinking after the race, that was like, okay, I was really efficient, but probably if looking back on it, like we could have created a breakaway, and we could have, like, there was a moment where like you went ahead and I was with you, but then I wasn't thinking about, like, now I would have been like, oh, I'm just going to start working with Greg to try and create like a separation from the group. But looking back on that first race, I remember thinking after the fact, I was like, oh man, I could have definitely worked harder in that race to create a breakaway. But that was really one of my first races ever, so I wasn't thinking about breakaways. It was just in the moment thinking about that, but then afterwards. And then now one of the things that I've seen a lot is, especially in these crits where it's so hard to create breakaways, because honestly in these local races, like it feels even harder because there's a lot of dudes out there that don't want to share the work of getting into that breakaway and staying in that breakaway, because oftentimes it's just one person, and as you said, a lot of people are like, oh, no, and then it's everybody trying to bring that person back, versus you might have a couple of people that are like, hey, we're going to work together, and like we're going to really keep working to try and create that separation. So
yeah, I've kind of learned for me that where I have had more success with getting in a breakaway has been on really big climbs.
Yeah.
Like that circuit race you were talking about. Like we both tried, but there was no big climbing that really pops a group, because like I think at our level, the hard climbs are what kind of separate people that have been training versus people that are just showing up for a bike race. Mm-hmm. And so then that weekend, there was a bigger climb. I got in a solo break, but then kind of what you were saying, I had nobody to work with on the road race a day later.
I was heading back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did Coors 2, and we kind of had different breakaway experiences with that, where we got to a real tough climb, and I got over the top with 3 or 4 other dudes, and we kind of started working together, and then you were in the chase group and no one wanted to work with you to catch, which I think you could have if they would have really cooperated.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up, because I think that's probably the first time thinking about how important these breakaways really are and can make or break a race itself, where in terms of like you ended up podium on that race, but it was like you plus four other guys were willing to work
Yeah.
together to keep away. Versus what had happened was is you're right. Like there was a steeper climb, and I just remember like looking back on it, it was if I would have just kept pushing for an extra 10 to 15 seconds to stay with that front group on the top, I would have been in that breakaway with you guys, and I would have like, I would have been struggling for sure at the top, but it was like I found myself reflecting on it backwards, after the race, thinking like, man, I was so frustrated because at the end of that climb, I just figured, okay, yep, we're gonna pull everybody back in. It's no worries. Like I'm not worried. There was tons of guys behind me, but then it was like you guys all started working together. You guys sent it on the downhill, and then I literally was trying to talk to other guys and be like, "Hey, let's do some work. Let's catch up to them. Let's do intervals." And nobody wanted to do that, and everybody was just like, "No." And I was just like, "No, that's the race, though," and that's the difference of like you created a strategic breakaway, and you kept working to keep that, and you stayed away versus like in this local race, I was the only one who wanted to like catch up. And I was like, I would have found myself in no man's land because then you guys created like a 30-second gap. And then it was just like, man, I'm going to be killing myself to try and to try and make this like, breakaway. And then at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I could have caught you when it became that, when I realized that nobody else was going to work at that point, I was like, I'm going to find myself in no man's land, and then I'm going to be, screwed the rest of the race. So that was the first time that I really like felt that breakaway in a negative sense.
The flip side of that is when I did Course 3, and then even the last like Tuesday Night Worlds that I've done, like I've been, especially with Tuesday Night Worlds, it's been really good practice to just kind of test my legs, and
Yeah.
if I get dropped, who cares? And multiple times I've gotten in a break, but they've not stayed away. So kind of the flip side of what you were just describing, where it's really hard. Even like I think Course 2 I think a lot of it had to do with the weather conditions.
Yeah.
Because Course 3, like we had a break and we were caught in 10 minutes.
Uh,
And Tuesday Night Worlds, even last night I was in a 5-man break off the AA group, and 5 minutes later they were on our wheels again. So it's
oh, I
really,
see.
really hard.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody was committed.
Yeah.
So, when it's 4 or 5 versus 10 or 15, like it's just the odds are against you, which kind of makes me really appreciate the tour when you've got 4 or
Yes.
5 guys against like 200.
It's insane.
It's like,
Yeah. And they
and,
just and they're
and
and everybody at that level is, they're the best of the best. Like in a
yes,
local race, we're not like none of like, especially in the in the category where it's like you're getting into racing, where you're in this like 4 or 5 category, it's like there is vastly different levels of people coming into that 4 or 5 category, and like it shows. And at the
yeah.
same time, it's like, it's in the world tour level, all those guys are at the top of their game, and so it's like creating breakaways from guys that are just like, no, literally every single person in that tour is amazing. And so it's just like that's what makes it even more
Well, and
ridiculous.
more, it's kind of going back to as I've been watching the tour, just the things that I'm appreciating. And we had people over for stage 1, and we watched it together, and they like to watch it, but they don't know a lot about cycling, so they're asking a ton of questions
Yeah.
and explaining that on these professional teams, everybody has a different job. So it's like not only those 4 or 5 guys that get a breakaway that stay away, like yeah, it's against 200, but they're also, each team is calling up their best like raw diesel horsepower engines to catch the breakaway and to bring it back. So we've
Yeah.
seen a lot of UAE at the front,
Yes.
controlling the gap, a lot of Visma, and a lot of Alpecin de Koenig,
Yeah.
because they were in yellow and green, and so they were really controlling the race. And so, and this is like, we haven't even gotten in the mountains yet. These are
Yeah.
just the guys with just diesel engines on the rollers and the flats to just be like, okay, I need you at the front doing, I don't know, 400 watts for 40 minutes. Just go. And we're just going
Yeah.
to sit on your wheel. And it's just,
It's wild.
It's just crazy to watch, and it's
Yeah.
been so fun to watch, and just to kind of have that more of that appreciation now from racing has
Yeah.
been really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, and it goes to the point of like why these breakaways matter, where it's like it makes the races not only like unpredictable and thrilling, but it's like they force other racers to react. And so it's like and they can be especially well, I mean even at the Tour de France, it's like they can often be decisive moves that like can dictate like again the podium, especially like where you have these mountain stages where you're just like, okay, yep, a breakaway can form and it can potentially stay away, and so and the same thing can play out in these amateur races as well that we're a part of. But when you see these typically in like crits, roads, and circuit races, it's like I think what I'll be really curious about as we continue racing is just how these to try and learn and have a really better understanding the more that we race of when these might typically happen in the different types of races. So for example, like with crits, where it's like it's not probably going to happen within the first 10 minutes of a 40 to 50
Right.
minute crit or a 60-minute crit. Now it might, there's guys that, would race and they'd be like, I'm much stronger than this category. I'm just catting down. So therefore I'm just going to try and create this separation immediately. But at least it would be interesting as we get more experience in terms of like when they might typically happen in road races, so that like when we get better as racers, we start understanding a lot of the dynamics that are happening in real time to be like, oh, yep, I knew this was going to happen. This is a key part of this race. I knew there was going to be a breakaway at this part of this, or at least we can start to anticipate when these things might happen. And I think that will be really important for us as we get better and better, to just have more experience with that of like,
Yeah.
these are why these matter so much.
It was cool on stage 4 of the tour. So if anybody hasn't seen stage 4 yet,
What
that
are you
was
doing?
that was the one that Tade won,
Yep.
and it was interesting. So when on the very last climb, when Tade and Jonas broke away,
Yeah.
and Remco wheeled him in,
Yeah.
like starting to even understand tactics more. And a lot of this has come from our coach, but I was sitting there and I was watching with my kids. So like they have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
But I said out loud, as soon as I saw Remco reeling him in and kind of closing that gap, and I saw that Matteo Jorgensen was behind him, I said, as soon as they bridge that gap, Matteo Jorgensen's going to pop off and put a dig in. And sure enough, as soon as Remco bridged, Matteo did a counterattack. And I was like, so it's been really fun to just from racing more understand the tactical side of things,
Yeah.
and like what's going on and why things are happening.
Yeah.
Like I've really appreciated that this year.
Yeah. Well, it makes even the tour more exciting too. The
Yeah.
more that we understand it and we get to experience it, in terms of what's happening in local amateur races, like the more fun the tour becomes, because then you're like, oh wow, this is like I kind of like I kind of knew this was going to happen here. So it's
Yeah.
like it really makes it interesting. But yeah, I think the other thing too is just the fact that it's like, for us, just the dynamic of like you see this so far where like the importance of teams and how these matter so much for these breakaways too, where it's like we have guys in a couple of different local teams here that, where it's like you can have a couple of people working for one dude, and it's like, but then when you're riding solo, like if I'm doing a crit without you or if you're doing a road race without me, it's like you're riding solo and it's like you are at a disadvantage compared to another 2 to 3 teams out there that might have a couple of guys. And you know what? They're strategically trying to protect their dude to whenever he's going to pop off at any point. And it's like they've probably conserved his energy a lot more, and whereas forcing you or other people in that race that are not riding in a team to really potentially burn a match or two more than what they have. And so I think it's just like I've even seen so far very quickly just how much teams can really play a dynamic in these races where it's like, yeah.
That
So
was my wife, after the Hyde Park Blast a couple weeks ago. She was like, so you're in the Cat 4-5. So she's like, she wasn't like knocking it, but she was like, she knows that's not the like because we went to the night race. She knows that's not the big premier race, and she was like, "Were there like teams in your race?" And I was like, "Yeah, there were probably like 2 or 3 teams represented." And she goes, "So you're racing, and you've got all these guys against teams that are working together, and you're just out there by yourself." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "That sucks." So even she, I think,
she gets it.
She gets it. But she's understanding like the.
Where was Josh?
Yeah,
he was sick.
Throw it up. And but even the people that came over the other day and watched the first stage at our house, they were both like, they've watched the tour for years, and the guy was like, what I really appreciate is I've been learning so much about. It's like watching a football or baseball game where everybody has a position, a job on the team, and they've got one thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're going to talk more about stuff that stood out to us.
Yeah.
But when you look at like team dynamics of the tour, I thought this was interesting. I heard someone say this the other day. If you look at the first 4 stages, both UAE and Visma, which are the 2 powerhouse teams that expected one of their guys is going to win the tour.
Right.
You have not seen any of their mountain domestique climbers.
Yeah.
So like Sepp Kuss, we haven't seen him at all.
Yeah.
Simon Yates, haven't seen him. Adam Yates for UAE, haven't seen it. Like all these big climbers, like we're going to see them on week 2 and week 3. They've just been hiding. Yep. And that's not by accident. Like,
oh, no.
They're not at the front at all. They're not doing lead outs. They're not keeping their guys safe because they're like, we're going to chill.
Yep.
And we're going to keep our legs fresh because we know that we're the mountain guys.
Yeah, their work's coming. It's just not week 1. Yeah.
And that's what's been so fun is to see these breakaways happen, see we're getting, okay, these are the breakaway specialist guys. These are the guys that are the horsepower, bringing them back. And that's I've really enjoyed that. And kind of to what you had said a few minutes ago, on paper, this first week, I don't think was supposed to be as exciting as it's been.
Yeah.
I've been every day just like this. So much has been happening that it's been so fun.
Oh, I agree. Well, it's because you just don't want Tade to have this like, all right, he's already got a 5-minute lead, and so you're kind of like, all right, well, there's the tour. So it's like so far up to stage 5, it's still it's still anybody's game, but yeah, to kind of put a bow on this in terms of the breakaways, why don't we? One of the things I thought would be kind of cool is just for us to talk about, not that we're experts by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just like if other people are getting into racing, if they're newer to racing like us, it's like, what do you think the things that we've learned so far in terms of like, how to get better at breakaways, how to anticipate them, like what are some of the things that stand out to you?
2 things. Well, I guess one thing kind of from 2 sides of the coin is, and it's really hard, and I think this kind of comes with experience. So like I'm very much learning this, knowing which moves are the moves, or having that instinct to know which move is the one I need to follow, and which one is the one where it's like, I'm going to let some Joe Schmo chase that one down and burn those matches. Because that's if you try to counter every break, you're never going to get in one, and you're never going to get on a podium because you're going to just burn every match you have.
Yeah.
I saw that a lot in Course 3, like that whole first lap, I'm just letting everybody else do the work. And I'm just sitting on the wheels as they counter. But then kind of the flip side of that, and I've been practicing this at Tuesday Night Worlds, is like when you see a little bit of a gap start to kind of happen and nobody's doing it, that's when it's like, ooh, this could be a moment. Because there's like last night, there were a few times where I would like kind of get up and then look back and be like, oh, I'm a little bit ahead right now because nobody made a move here. Or I countered, or I jumped on that wheel and kind of followed that move. And so it's definitely, I think a big part of it is instincts. And I think Derek is really good at this. He's so good at knowing the field that he's against.
Yeah.
Like and you look at these pros in the tour, they know each other.
Oh yeah.
Like they race all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember an
But it kind of
interview.
happens. I mean, I agree with you. And it also happens in these local races. Like, I'm finding myself, like, to your point, like, know who your competitors are, because oftentimes you're kind of in a lot of the same races together, where it's like,
Yep.
for a lot of people like us, we're doing a lot of local races, even within a couple of like states, cross borders where they're close by. But it's like, you end up really getting to like understand, like, oh, I know 5 of these guys out of this 30 or 40 people already, and I know that like 4 of them are like, ooh, this guy or this one is really good. And so you just have these, like, you kind of know already some of the competition. But it's same to your point, like, especially at the world tour stage, it's like they know their competitors extremely well. And so that's a huge advantage to just know, like, oh yeah, like if this guy's here, he shows up, I know a lot of his tactics.
I mean, how
Yeah.
many? This is the fifth time that Tade and Jonas have raced head to head,
Yeah.
and at the tour.
Yeah.
So it's like they know what
Oh
to
yeah.
expect. They know when they're gonna. They know when and where,
Oh yeah.
and they know how hard the other person's working. I remember hearing an interview where Tade was like, "I knew Jonas was struggling because I could hear him breathing behind me, heavier
Oh,
than normal." So
fascinating.
like
Yeah.
they
Yep.
know each other, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
really cool to see. That it's like a giant game of chess
Yeah.
happening over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and I think the other thing too is like, so certainly like study your competitors. I think that's one of the key things. Look up their Stravas, see what they've done, if they've raced in the past, if they've won other races that are similar, and just like, okay, this person might be the person to follow or kind of latch onto. They might be the person that you could be like, okay, this is my main target. But I think the other thing too is just, I've been thinking about this too, is like, especially in the team dynamics, where it's like, if you have a couple of teams, like for example, and our coaches kind of helped me understand this more, especially in like crits, where it's like, to your point, like, don't overreact, don't react to every single attack. But it's like, if there's 2 or more teams that kind of go, then you're like, ooh, no, I need to actually respond and get into this, because then if I'm left behind, these teams get ahead. Like, now they're at a significant advantage to make even a further breakaway. And so you kind of, it goes back to your point of like instincts, where you kind of have to understand that. You just have to race more to kind of experience it. But I think that's a huge part of it. So it's almost that idea of like, if 2 or more teams go, so do you, regardless of, how you feel, where it's like, that's gonna play out a lot. But sometimes it's, to your point, some guy goes and you're like, okay, I'm gonna let somebody else work and
Yeah.
try and bridge this gap. And then, yeah, you're right. Where it's like, if you don't see anybody reacting to it, you're like, ooh, okay, wait a minute. Is this the move here? So, but yeah, and then I think the other thing is too, is just trying to like, if the thing I haven't experienced yet, which will be really interesting, is just more experiences, just trying to create breakaways too. I think this will be something that will be really fun to try and like tap into eventually. I think right now I'm working a lot with just kind of reacting to a lot of breakaways versus like creating them. And I think that's probably to my advantage at the moment. But it's like, for you, I think you're right now you're at a point where, especially in like a road race, where you have the ability to really create an attack, or create a breakaway, I should say, and do that to where you could potentially stay away, but you would probably want help.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm not putting that on you, but I do think that like, that's one of the things that like I've been thinking about with this upcoming race that I've got on Saturday, which is just that idea of like, I don't know that I have currently the power to create a breakaway. Now I
yeah.
might, but it's like, I don't. That's the thing. It's like, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't experienced it yet. A lot of times I'm just reacting to it, and I think that's where a lot of people might find themselves initially. It's probably like me, where they're kind of like, okay, I'm reacting to more things, but the more you race, I think then you can kind of find yourself in that boat of being like, ooh, you know what? Everybody's kind of hurting here. Maybe this is my moment to like, I feel good, but I know everybody's hurting. Or if I'm really hurting, so is everybody else. And now's the moment to try and create this little bit of, yeah, this attack. So, yeah.
All right. Before we go any further, because I definitely want to talk, there's so much more to talk about the tour than just breakaways. I
Yep.
want to give a couple shout outs to some supporters of our channel. So we want to give a huge shout out to Road ID. Our viewers, you will notice we are not at Road ID right now. We are kind of filming this remotely. And this kind of goes back to our busy lives, busy families. So
Football minicamp.
You've got football minicamp. I'm going on vacation in 2 days. Two of my kids are already there, and so we're doing this remotely because there's just too much to talk about. But for our normal viewers, normally we are in Road ID headquarters, and we are super thankful to them for letting us film at their headquarters. If you're a cyclist, runner, or someone who wants peace of mind while out on the road, Road ID has you covered. Their medical IDs provide crucial info in case of an emergency, and they look great too. Do yourself a favor, check out roadid.com and grab one today. Big thanks to the team at Road ID for their support of our channel. We also want to mention that Kentucky Open Road Racing Series has partnered with us all season to bring you, the listener and viewer, an exclusive deal. If you are looking to race in the Kentucky Open Road Racing Series, use the code BESPOKE15 at checkout for 15% off your registration. This is the upcoming Coors 4 is the last one this season. It is also the Kentucky State Championships. So come on down and race. It's a blast. They've partnered with a local brewery and the podiums that enjoy some brews and some awesome food. Also, if you register in any of the races or volunteer in any of the races, you are entered in a drawing to win a Cannondale Super 6 Evo 4. So whether you're a seasoned racer or just getting started, Coors has something for every level cyclist. Head over to KentuckyORRS.com and use the code BESPOKE15 at checkout. That's BESPOKE15. I want to say on the Kentucky Open Road, I really, really hope that we get more racing like this in our area, like throughout really Kentucky. Cool. So
it's really cool.
Gary, I know you're a big listener, so whatever you need from us to make that happen, because your race, his races have been so fun.
Yeah,
you know,
like it's
notch. Just they're run very well. It's competitive. It's been a really cool experience having those races to go to.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, it's like you can't almost have enough of them because they're just so good. So, okay, let's transition talking about one of the things that has stood out to you from the tour. So.
I've got a lot, so
we've got.
I got a lot.
What is your number one thing that is like? What do you think is most exciting to you so far of this tour? Okay. Watching these stages.
Before I get into that, we have to do one. We have to amend one thing we said last week where we made a mistake.
Oh yeah. We mentioned a guy,
we said Brandon McNulty is the fifth American, and Brandon McNulty is not in this tour.
Not in this
tour.
Some
Randy named Will Bart. I've never heard of this guy. Yeah. I saw him today. He was on the side of yesterday. He was on the side of the road getting a mechanical. I was like, that's the guy that we didn't know.
Yeah.
But
also, we had it to where we had another edit as well. We had mentioned with Hincapie's teams, the American teams. Yeah. We talked about EF being the only other American team. Liddell Trek is another American team that we forgot about those guys.
How did we forget about them?
I don't know, but that's two American teams. So Hincapie, the third team. So,
okay.
Yep. Hey, we're post editing, you know. Yeah.
So, but some things have. I do want to speak about the Americans real quick. I said I was excited to see this guy, and he has just been making it like so cool. Is the man Quinn Simmons?
Oh, dude.
And here's someone watching might be like, he hasn't done anything. Like, he hasn't been in a break. He hasn't won a stage. Every single day, this man, for like a majority of the race, has been at the front of the peloton, pulling, and it's like you can spot him because he's in his national champions jersey. So he's got crazy hair.
I love his style. Like, he's just the epitome of like an American guy that you're just like, dude, he's got the long stash, he's got the long hair. You're just like, I'm sure he listens to heavy metal, you know.
Yes,
He just seems
but
like that guy.
I just appreciate just his raw diesel engine
Oh,
of the work that he's been doing.
it's crazy.
And I really, I hope he can pull out a stage win.
Yep.
I think he can get in a break, and I think he can make something happen. I don't think it's going to be in this first week.
Yeah.
I think that the sprinters have been doing too much, and I think that it's been super surprising. The GC guys have kind of been battling way earlier
Yeah,
than
than
we thought they
anticipated.
would. Like, I thought it wouldn't be till the mountains that we start seeing that, and we're seeing Tade and Jonas just pound for pound boxing. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that stuck out to me, I agree with you on Quinn Simmons. That guy, my level of respect for him is like through the roof, where you're seeing him. Like, I've watched one of those stages live for a good part of it, and you just see him the whole time. And you're just like, this dude is still at the front. It's insane. And again, it goes back to the whole thing of like, these are the world's best and strongest riders,
Yep.
and this guy's just taking the brunt of it. So but I think one of the things that I loved so far, and this is, I really, really want to see more of this, and I think everybody too, is like an aggressive Jonas, right? Where it's just
Yep.
like stage one happened to where it was like that crosswind, and then he just started like him and a couple of the guys from Visma, they just started like they started hammering at the front, and they created a separation, and Remco lost like 40 seconds, and you're just like in
And
Roglic too,
and
and
Primos, yeah,
yeah, and it was just one of those things that you're just like, whoa, this is crazy, and then you just see that like, okay, that's stage one happening, and you're just like, oh man, I really hope I hope this Jonas shows up, week two and week three, where he's the one being aggressive and not just trying to react to Tade, but. I think that was one of my favorite things so far that I saw. Now we're at stage five, so obviously, if people know by the time they listen to this, it's like Remco put in a crazy good TT time again. And then Jonas actually didn't really have a good TT time. Like, I mean,
that was one of
um,
his worst TTs
yeah.
I've
And
seen in a
it kind
while.
of puts it in a weird position moving forward, especially with Mateo, where you're just like, okay, Mateo's looking strong. He's looking good. And at the same time, it's like
American, by the way, for
American,
those
by the
an
way.
American, yes, people that don't
Yeah.
follow. Matteo Jorgensen
Yeah.
sounds European, but that is straight up from Durango, Colorado.
That's right. Yeah.
Or maybe that's
Um,
Quinn and Sepp. I know Sepp's from Durango.
yeah. I don't know
Two of them are
where
from
Mateo's.
Durango.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be. It's either him or Quinn. I can't remember. Anyway, whatever though. Keep going, Matteo.
Yeah. Well, it's just that was one of my favorite things so far was seeing Jonas be more aggressive on that, and in stage four, where he had to respond to Tade, but it's like, but he stuck with his wheel, and it was just like he didn't like he fell back like 10 to 15, probably like 10 seconds or something like that, and then it's like I don't think Tade could even hear because it was just people screaming and cheering and stuff, but it's like. But Jonas, they were like within 100 meters of the finish, and it was just like I'm sure he got told by his sports director, like, you need to stick on his wheel, like you only like give everything you've got into the line type of thing, because it was like they didn't have much racing left. But it was really cool to see him, like, then he kind of latched back onto his wheel, and you're just like, okay, there's your two there's your two riders for this tour. And so it's
It's gonna
cool
be
to
a
see that,
long
like,
3 weeks.
yeah, like it was cool to see Jonas though, like, make that, like, hey, I'm going to get back on, and just overcoming that mental, I'm sure for him, where he's in a crazy amount of pain trying to keep up. And both him and Tade are in they probably overextended themselves, but I love seeing that. That's the
Yeah.
type of racing I love. And you're just like, oh gosh, like I want this every mountain stage.
Yep.
So
So let's see. You mentioned stage one. That was thought it would be a big sprint stage, and it's a GC shakeup where
yep.
Remco and Jonas are kind of, I think the prediction was Remco they're all going to be together, and then Remco will go in yellow after the TT, but that kind of screwed him.
Yeah.
Stage two, we're seeing. Stage two was really interesting, and I think what I appreciated is every tour in the past we've seen Tade just kind of put big digs into Jonas for no reason. And I'm like, what are you, like, why?
Yeah.
You're sprinting for 19th place in the stage, like, you're not
Yeah.
getting a time bonus. but it was cool to see him kind of more responsive, like just kind of sitting there and seeing what this guy will do, and then like get a time bonus or beat him. Like,
Yeah.
that was like, okay, like he didn't have to really work for that, and then he still got like kind of came out on a win. And then I want to chat stage 3 a little bit, and I want to relate this to something else, because something we left out in the what's been happening in cycling last week. So
Yeah.
another post edit is so stage 3 was the big crash that took out Jasper Philipsen.
Yep.
And I don't want to, I mean, that's kind of been, you know, people, I'll let you, you were telling me that I didn't realize this, that people, their team is like suing people or something.
Well,
what is going on here?
So side note on this. This is funny because this is like, you know, so this, you know, his team. So Brian Cocard, if I'm saying that correctly, like he was actually the one who was the guy that, of course, everybody saw those clips where you just like he was going with another guy head to head in that, like getting a point and getting that sprint uphill, and then he threw his wheel and then of course crashed and then caused the other guy to crash. Well, that's next day, then he goes out and he was amongst those that like the blame is, I think, heavy on him for causing Jasper to crash. And so obviously like breaking his collarbone and being out of the Tour de France. And so I think he started receiving a lot of hate from people just being like, what are you doing? You know, how could you do this? Obviously people are upset that Jasper's out of it, but his team Cofidis Cofidis, thank you. Their team Cofidis is defending them, but it was funny because they just like, I read this and I was like, they're threatening this, you know, legal action against essentially haters, where they had this quick little quote where it's basically like, you know, we condemn any form of intimidation or abuse directed at our riders on social media. The team reserves the right to file a complaint against anyone who damages their integrity and wishes to express it in full support for all riders. And you're just like, oh, just pump the brakes. Like, it's fine. Like you're threatening to sue haters. Like, good luck in 2025. Like,
I know,
because that's not going to stop. You know, so I just thought that was funny. But it's one of those things that
Cofidis was the team also that caused that crash on that KOM point on stage 1.
Wild.
Yeah. And my wife saw that, and they kept showing the replay where the guy goes down and just like looks, and my wife's like, that's going to be the best meme ever, where he just puts his hands up like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I think unintentionally that clip is going to live to haunt that guy the rest of his life. Like, it'll just get replayed and replayed and replayed, and the amount of like memes and, you know, things that'll be created from that is, I'm sure, already, you know, massive.
Before we go on, I do want to, the reason I brought up stage 3, and not necessarily Jasper's crash, but what we left out last week was some more new UCI rules for next year.
Yeah.
Around equipment. So the big 2 that's been a fuss the last month are handlebar widths, which I don't, you know, everybody in their mind has been talking about how it's unfair to women and smaller riders. I don't really want to cover that because so many people have been talking about that.
Sure.
I want to get into, and this is my take on this, that a lot of these UCI rules are actually making the sport less safe, and their objective is to try to make it safer.
Yeah.
So the thing that really stuck out is they're trying to slow the peloton down, and so they're limiting their gear ratios.
Yep.
So no longer can teams have, moving next year, at the front chainring, they can't have more than a 54 and a 11 in the back. So pretty much anybody on SRAM, like, so I don't know what SRAM's going to do if that rule sticks. But what really, if you read the rule, it says 54-11 on a 28 mil tire. And that's what really fascinated me, because I'm willing to bet you that no team to follow that will go above a 28 mil tire, when so much has come out the last 2 years about how fast 30s are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the pros race 30.
Sure.
A lot of them on the cobbles race 32s.
Yeah.
And I would make a massive argument that a 30 or 32 mil tire is just a safer tire because you have so much more grip.
Yep.
And so what really pisses me off about the UCI right now is they're making all these rules for safety, but if you go back and watch stage 3 and watch the last 2 minutes, not like this is well after Jasper crashed.
Mm-hmm.
When it shows the front camera and the pelotons coming straight at the camera, you see guys just zigzagging everywhere on this super windy course. And I remember saying to myself, there will be a crash. And sure enough, coming right into the last turn was a massive crash. So many people have been putting this on socials that were standing at the road barriers there. And what really ticks me off about these new rules is they're going to spend all this time monitoring equipment when in reality they could do way more to make these courses safer.
100%.
Because limiting gears, these guys are still going to go down a mountain at 50 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And it's so stupid to me that they are, like stage 3, the finish was so windy. And the other thing I think that has kind of changed cycling is a lot of these guys are all in and they're very young compared to 15, 20 years ago where it was like you're kind of more in your late 20s racing, where now it's guys that are 20 years old.
Yeah, they're younger.
Nervous.
Yep.
And causing all these accidents. And it just annoys the crap out of me that the UCI is putting all these equipment rules on when in reality
the course is like the number one thing. Yeah.
The road furniture, don't spend money trying to limit equipment. Spend money on trying to take out road furniture. Spend money on making the finishes at a better destination. Like, I get it's cool to finish downtown, but when you're going through a freaking S curve, like to get downtown, it's not worth it. And the crashes we've seen have not been in high mountains. They've been on stupid courses and these sprints and all these rules. And so I think that there are so many better rules that the UCI could be doing if they really want to, quote, make this sport safer.
Yeah.
It's been really frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I think it's exactly to your point. I mean, I think even Hincape's talked about this too, based on like previous, Tour de France's where it's like the courses in and of itself, where he talked about like they're not making it safer, and compared to what the racing was even back, when he was racing. And so it's just like, and if anything, they're making these courses even more dangerous. And so I think it's just goes back to the fact of like, if you have other riders who actually did the tour that are talking about this and saying like, yes, this is a problem, like this is not getting better. And I agree that it's like, yeah, it seems like UCI's main focus shouldn't be necessarily on these little things. It should be more on like, okay, the number one issue is really the course safety, and that's what we should really focus on. So yeah, I agree. But I imagine it's very frustrating for these teams and for these riders, because you're just like, you kidding me?
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's anything else from the tour that really stuck out to you? Anything that's
I mean, I'm super curious after the time trial to see what Visma's going to do.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like they're going to throw all their eggs in the Matteo basket, but I think that I don't think they were planning for Jonas to lose a minute to Tadej.
Yeah.
I think everybody knew Remco was going to win. If
Yep.
Remco didn't win, we'd be surprised. I don't think anybody expected Tadej to be so close to Remco. 16 seconds is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to Jonas, but it sucks that I get everybody has an off day, but when you listen to former tour guys, they say you can't afford to have a bad day. That's where you lose the tour. All it takes is one bad day. And I think if there's one thing in this first week, I was telling Jess this, I said, look, this first week, nobody's going to win the tour in the first week. but people can lose the Tour in the first week.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
case in point, we've just seen Pmioz making two big mistakes now. The day one, and then, no, three. Then he lost another 30 seconds on stage 4, and then he did not have a great time trial.
Yeah.
So we're definitely seeing people kind of cracking, and it's going to be, and we haven't even hit the mountains.
Well,
That's what's crazy.
it's also interesting too to see Roglic, where it's just like I don't know if it's a deflection to just try and like relieve the pressure of trying to be in that mix of one of the top contenders, but at this point, it's like he is not doing himself any favors so far in this race, where it's just like he's not performing well and he's lost a lot of time, and arguably like compared to Tade, you're like, dude, yeah, you're like already out of this race. Like you're not like it's interesting to see. And then his like, when the interviewers and people are asking him, he's just like is very dismissive about it, and it's just like it's almost like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I'm not worried about it. And you're just like, whoa, like what are you talking about?
Yeah,
like
it is
you're
weird.
you're Roglic. Like you are one of the best guys in this tour that has the opportunity to to be a podium guy, and it's just like, and it just doesn't seem like, I don't know if it's, again, I obviously we don't know what's happening, but it's that idea of like just seeing that play out even within the first week. You're just like, wow, that's crazy. So
I mean, it is weird. He has, for years now, been very vocal. The only Grand Tour I don't have is the Tour, and I want to win a Tour.
yeah,
And his attitude, not that it's been negative, but it has kind of just been a little cavalier, or kind of like not standoffish, but like, whatever.
yeah,
And I do wonder, I know we kind of ragged on him a few weeks ago about crashing on Zwift. But I do wonder if he's kind of trying to be cautious until they get to the high mountains when the peloton is so tired and slows down, that he's thinking, I just got to get to week 3, because he's crashed out of the last, I think, 4 tours.
yeah.
I know 3.
Yeah.
3. The last tour I remember him finishing was when he lost to Tade in the time trial. That was the first tour Tade won, and that was back in 21.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 20. That was 2020.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, because you think about that, that's a really long time
That's
ago.
5 years ago, and it's
Yeah.
like, this guy's not getting any younger.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, maybe we're seeing the kind of the end of the Roglic era, where it's just kind of, but you don't want to see it, because
No,
you're just,
I don't. I like Roglic.
Yeah, he's a hard person to, to dislike, because he's just so likable,
Yeah.
but
And I think he, head to head, I don't care who agrees or not, I think he's better than Remco, or at least he has been, historically speaking.
well, yeah, but we'll see how it plays out. All right. Well, hey, we would love to hear from you guys. So, two things I think I would love to hear from our audience is if you've ever successfully gotten into a breakaway, how long did it last, and what was your experience with it? And then another question is, if you were in a local race, do you prefer to gamble on a breakaway, or do you prefer to wait for like a sprint finish? Probably more lends itself to crit racing than anything, but would love to hear that. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you think of our Tour de France takes as well, and our discussion on breakaways. So we'd love to hear from you guys.
Ooh, I'm going to throw one more, because we're early enough in the tour.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear people's podium predictions.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
Okay. All of them.
1, 2, 3.
Love it. I love it. Okay.
So I want to hear.
Yeah. Okay. So please leave a comment below. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok for more great content. And until next time, we will see you guys.
See ya.